I'm Sister Eileen Currie. I entered the Missionary Sisters in 1966.
So can you tell us where you were when you met the MSCs and what it was that drew you to them?
Sure. I went to Cabrini College, and that's when I met the sisters. What I really enjoyed about the sisters, they were international, and I always wanted to be a foreign missionary, which is a joke in the long haul.
So that leads to the next question. Can you tell us about the places you have been with the sisters and the kinds of work that you have done?
Yes, I have been in education for 24 years. I started out in Brooklyn, New York. Then I was in Upper Manhattan at Mother Cabrini High School. Then I went to that place called Cabrini College, and I was there for about 11 years. And after that, I was working with the sisters in mission integration and ongoing formation.
And when you first came into the Institute, what was your understanding of the charism?
They didn't do the same work that everybody else was doing. They were doing different ministries. They were in healthcare, they were in education, but they were also in foreign countries doing more pastoral work. And that was very appealing to me. I always thought I was going to be in Asia or Africa, but that didn't work out the way I planned.
So as you live out your life now, do you understand the charism differently?
I certainly do, yeah, because the charism has very little to do with work. It has everything to do with the Sacred Heart, but bringing people to Jesus in no matter what kind of work we're doing. It's really all a matter of helping people grow in their own faith and being a companion with them.
In this life, you lived in community, I assume, for much of it. Could you tell me what that was like?
Oh, yeah. Always very interesting because we are a polyglot of people. We are the unexpected, always living together. But it's been a very growthful thing. You know, in the beginning, we were a lot of people at a community. We could be 8 to 15 sisters in a community. Now they're tiny. But you learned a lot. I learned a lot from the sisters in community and their own life experiences and their own struggles and dreams and hopes. So community it's a wonderful experience. It takes a lot of courage on some occasions, but it's wonderful.
Could you talk a little bit about that, their growth, their challenges?
I grew up with all brothers, first of all. So to live with all women was a real interesting experience for a while. But you learned what was really important was to be a companion, not a competitor. You learned how to work together to make the mission or the community project work well. And you helped each other. You kind of learned, they learned my rough edges, I learned theirs, but they learned my strengths and helped me use my strengths in the best way possible. And I hope I was able to do that for them.
Is there something in your life as a sister that touched your heart, that you remember, something that occurred that really meant something to you?
Mm. You know, I think my experience in Ethiopia, I had the opportunity to visit Ethiopia on 3 occasions for about a month and work with the sisters there, the young novices. It was their passion. It was they're so different culturally. And just to see their desire to get over all the hurdles that they had to get over to become part of our community, that's very touching for me. That was like, oh, this is how God works. This is how God really works. But you know, Jean, one of the things in my ministries, my most recent as a spiritual director and retreat director, that's the ministry that God gets me the best. I might be accompanying people and helping them with their prayer life or whatever. But you know, when you're talking to someone, you hear what you're supposed to hear as well. And I have had 20 plus glorious years of God reaching me through all the men and women that I have been able to accompany. And it's been just fabulous.
Is there, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Is there, how that works for you?
Well, you meet people where they are, and they're never the same. We might espouse the same faith tradition, but we all articulate it differently or have different experiences of God. And when you see people wanting to get closer to God, I mean, really seriously working to get closer to God, it's just beautiful. It just is something you treasure.
And is that your current ministry now, or how would you describe?
It has been for the last, where I am right now, I've been there for 20 plus years, but even before I went there, I was doing some ministry in the same way.
Now, if you reflect back from 1966 to the present, is there some part of your ministry that was personally fulfilling, or that just made you feel satisfied?
You know, they all were in some way, shape, or form. When I was an elementary school teacher and principal, the group of mothers that came to bring their children for CCD classes on Wednesday, they were my best teachers. I learned so much from those women just in conversation with them for about an hour or so once a week. At the high school, working with those beautiful young Hispanic women and their enthusiasm, their delight in life. And of course, then you go back to the college and there's a whole different cadre of experiences, which you know some of. But that was wonderful too, because wherever I have been taught by others so much. And I mean that sincerely. The faculty and staff at the college, they taught me a great deal. They really did.
If you were to speak to a young woman today who is considering entering the religious life, especially with the MSCs, what would you say to that young woman?
I would want to know what motivates them. What makes their heart move in that direction? What tickles their fancy? Because you want them to know that they're working with God. They're not working for God, which is a very different thing. When most people, when they're coming into religious life, or most people think they have to work for God. No, we just have the privilege of working with Him. And it's a huge difference. And I would hope that anyone who wanted to enter any community would want to work with them.
What has it meant to you to be a missionary sister?
Mm-hmm. In a sentence or two. It's made me who I am. It has helped me be the woman I think God has been trying to create me to be all along. Have I always had a sense of that day by day? No. But in hindsight, when I look back at it and I see how He has worked in my life through all the situations with all the people I have known, it's helped me become Eileen, who is an MSC.
Can you tell me what you think are the greatest strengths of the Institute?
Its diversity, its willingness to take risks. We have learned how to let go and to move into new arenas, new ministries, new ways of cooperating with other religious communities. So there's a lightsomeness about what we're trying to do and how we are becoming more agile, if you want, for the good of the church and God.
I love listening to you. I'd have a million more questions, but is there anything else that you'd like to say about this wonderful life that you are enjoying?
I'm just profoundly grateful that I've been able to be a part of it. It's been absolutely wonderful.